Hey guys, today we're going to continue personal financial literacy with a family budget. You've probably heard of your parents before complain about we don't have enough money, or we can't buy that, we can't afford that right now, or complain about a car payment or something like that. And that's because they have a family budget in mind. They kind of know how much money they have for food and how much money they have for entertainment and how much money they're going to give to you when you say, "Hey, mom, I want some money to go to the movies," or whatever it is. Okay, so um, there are two kinds of expenses. There's fixed and there's variable. Now, let's think about something for you personal. Most of you, hopefully maybe you get an allowance. You get whatever a week. I don't know, $5. What is it these days that kids get? I don't know. It might be, some of you might do chores for it, some of you might just get it, but let's just say you get $5 a week for allowance. And so that is a fixed amount that you get. But on your birthday or special events or things like that, your parents hand you some more money. That would be variable expenses. That's when some months you get it, some months you don't, some weeks you get it, some weeks you don't. So that's the difference between fixed and variable. So a budget, going back to our notes here, a budget, it's an estimate of all your incomes and all of your expenses, like the bills and such, for a set period of time. Expenses that don't change are called fixed. Now, your allowance is not a bill or an expense, but it is to your parents. It's a fixed expense because they know they agreed that they would pay you a certain amount every week. Expenses that do change are called variable expenses. So again, when you get money from your parents, like on birthdays and holidays and such like that, that is for you, that's cash in your hand, but for them, that's an expense. So that would be an expense that changes. Well, whenever your parents are spending money, some of those are fixed and some of them are variable. So we're going to look at what each one is. House payment. This is fixed. Your family pays the same amount each month, whether it's rent or a mortgage on a house. Food and groceries. Well, that's variable. Sometimes people they might have a set amount for their groceries, like we're only going to spend $500 this month on groceries, but sometimes you spend a little bit more, sometimes you spend a little bit less. So it would be considered a variable. Electricity. Electricity is also variable. We tend to use a lot more electricity when it's super cold outside or when it's super hot outside because our air conditioner or our heater runs more. So it's a variable expense. A car payment. This is fixed. When you buy a car, they might say, the people you buy the car from might say, you have to pay us $300 a month for this car. It doesn't change. It stays the same until you pay off the loan. Car insurance, that is also fixed. Every month, we are by law required to have insurance on our car. So every month, your parents have to pay whatever for car insurance. Water, that is also a variable. Our water bill tends to go way up in the summer if you water your lawn. So that's a time, like, again, it goes up and down depending on how much you use. Gasoline, this is variable. Again, you might set aside a certain amount for your gas every month, but it can go, sometimes you spend more and sometimes you spend less. Entertainment is also a variable. I think people have been spending a lot less on entertainment this past year with COVID. And so but sometimes we spend a whole lot more, like in the summer or vacations. Cell phone. This is also, we're going to call it fixed, but some people, their cell phone, it depends on data, how much they use. So it can be a variable, but in this situation right now, we're going to call it fixed. All right, so giving you an idea of the difference. So then it says what percent of the budget is spent on house payment or rent. And so when you go to, so we're going to go ahead and figure out, we're going to take the part, this time we have the part because we have the house payment. We have the whole, well, we're going to figure it out in just a minute. And then we're going to, and then we're going to figure out what is that percentage. Oh, and so here's the total expense right here. It was given to us. And then here's the house payment. It's $800. So going back to this formula, we're now going to figure out this part. So now we have an X over the 100 because it says what percent. The part is the 800. The whole is the 2000. Now I can see a lot of simplification I can do here. I can knock out those zeros and those zeros. Cross multiply, I have 20x, and I have 800, divide by 20, divide by 20, knock out some zeros again. 80 divided by 2 is 40. So this is a percent. And typically your house payment is your biggest percent. What percent of the budget is on the water bill? So again, now we're looking at the $40, but we keep the 2000 is still my whole. Again, I'm looking for the percent. So it's going to be X over 100, 40 over 2000. We can knock out those zeros. That's always great when we can do that. Cross multiply 200x. 100 times 4 is 400. Divide. Cross multiply. Divide. X equals 2. Not a whole lot of percent is on water. Moving on, what percent? Again, we're looking for the percent of the budget is spent on car and car insurance. So we're looking for the percent. So X over 100. The total is still the same, 2000. My car payment is $250. My car insurance is $50. So together it's $300. So I'm going to put 300 right here. I get to cross out some zeros. Always helpful. 20 times X. Remember, cross multiply. 3 times 100. Divide. Divide. X equals 0, 0. 30 divided by 2 is 15. Remember, we're looking for a percent, so we're going to write it with a percent sign at the back. 15%, that sounds about right. Sometimes people buy these huge cars that are super expensive. I'm like, what are you thinking? It's going to cost more than your house. Let's keep going. If you work 40, this is a little bit different. If you work 40 hours a week for 4 weeks, which is about a month, how much do you have to make per hour to pay all your bills? Whew. So let's see. We're going to figure out, because this is what you do when you go out and you get your own apartment. So many kids are just, I know I was, like ready to move out. I want to have my own place. I don't want to live here anymore. I want to do my own thing and make my own rules. And so, but once you get out there, it's pretty expensive. So let's kind of get an idea. If my expenses, I got a car, I have an apartment, are $2,000. Let's just remember, $2,000. I'm going to have to get a job and pay that bill every month. So if I work 40 hours a week, in a month, that would be 160 hours that I'm working. So how much money do I need to make to pay my bills. So I'm going to take my 160 and I'm going to divide it into the 2,000. So 160 goes into 0 times, 160 goes into 20 0 times, 160 goes into 200 1 time. 160. Bring down the 0. 160 goes into 400 2 times, and that ends up being 320. Okay, still need to work a little bit more, so I'm going to add a decimal, bring it up. I'm going to add a 0, bring it down. 160 goes into 800 exactly 5 times, because 160 times 5 is 800. So in order, I'm going to have to work 40 hours a week, and I'm going to have to make $12.50 in order for me to live, pay my bills and stuff like that. Okay, I hope that was educational. I hope you enjoyed that, knowing a little bit more about living life. I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.